So I woke up this morning with this idea that I ought to do videos on soil. Um, it probably has a lot to do with Rupal, my friend. Yesterday I was ranting on and on about it, and then she goes, "Okay, I think you ought to do videos on this subject, so more people are exposed to this sort of knowledge and share my perspective on it." I'm not quite sure uh, uh, how to sort of structure this. I want to start with the basics, and when I say basics, it's first we start with defining what is a plant. Uh, and then to define a plant, you need to define what an animal is as well, and all the other classifications. Simply because relationships actually give definition to what a plant is, and context is very much a part of that. So let's start with plants. Now, normally in isolation, if somebody asked you, "Oh, so what do you think is a plant?" and then you'll say, "Oh, well, it's green and it's stuck to the ground, and it can make its own food." These are the three qualities we normally associate with plants. Um, and uh, by that definition alone, there are other creatures that move. They're not stuck to the ground, and they can make their own food. And I think we have different names for those. So it sort of gives an incomplete definition of what it is, because to know what a plant is, you need to establish context with all the other creatures in that uh, uh, because funny thing is, nothing actually exists in isolation. Everything exists. The best way to define something, I feel, is by first understanding relationships with all the things around it. uh, and unless you do that, it's nearly impossible to define this one thing. So plants, how do I relate? How would I define plants? Mm, I know that they can convert sunlight. They can derive energy directly from sunlight, which we have trouble doing. Though we have the capacity to create these things, we are not as sophisticated as a plant. And How are they different from animals? I think at the point of evolution, there's a point at which that single-celled creature, at some point, they evolved into multi-celled organisms, and then it just sort of took a different route. So one decided, "Hey, I'm not going to move. I'll just sit here and establish relationships with things around me." And one group said, "Oh, I'm just going to go move around and experience life in a different way. Mobility will be one of my key qualities." And that's how I see it, no more than that, right? And the way an organism's body works, whether it's a plant or an animal, let's say man for convenience sake, uh, no organism exists as one isolated being. Like people, for example, for every human cell, you have your body's associated. Like every human cell has about 10 non-human cells living alongside it, right? So you are not just like, you're not 100% human. You are just a fraction of your body uh, qualifies as human. And unless all the other beings exist within you, there is no you're not at your optimal ever. You're unhealthy. You probably a lot of the thoughts that there's theories like it's inflammation in your brain that causes depression, and that comes from an unhealthy gut. So the same sort of thing applies to plants and trees, in the sense that they have an ongoing relationship with all kinds of beings around it. So that involves these relationships. It includes microbes in the soil. It includes birds, it includes humans, it includes all kinds of creatures. And understanding that there's no actual separation, that everything works together, uh, I think that's where well-being of the plant, well-being of birds and people, and all of this food you eat, everything is interconnected. So, yeah. So you can see I have a difficult task ahead to speak of things in isolation. So anyway, so that's all for today, and hopefully I'll make more sense tomorrow. That's it. Have a lovely Sunday.